The system is anti-life at its core. You are expected to work during your prime and somehow achieve retirement in old age. This is fundamentally anti-life. Who wants to spend away their best years at a job? A lot of people don't even live to age 65. The monastic way is to break away from this. Cut it out in its entirety. No monastic man should follow any system that does not support his freedom. We monastics watch the endless march of wage slaves to their jobs, keeping alive the evil system we reject. The man who works under the system will inevitably have everything taken from him. His time will be taken by his boss. His wife and children will feel neglected and leave. It is interesting how women sense the truth in the fact that a man who obeys the system is a slave. Women will never love and respect a slave. Their own biological desires fight against the system's programming, but only enough to punish just the man. And the man will be emasculated first by his woman's infidelity, and second by the system stripping away his prime years. There is nothing more anti-life than a system that expects you to spend 80% of your life at a job, then spits you out to your grave when you are all used up. Late-stage capitalism is also fundamentally anti-life. It creates an environment where the majority of people no longer have the money to maintain the functions of life, essentially pricing out the average person from life itself. I specifically point out the late stage part of capitalism because I believe capitalism itself is natural. It is only in the late stage where many unnatural things come into play. Things I can directly point out, such as political donations to politicians, revolving doors between the corporate and government sectors, inflation, and the lack of sound currency backed by anything tangible. These are but a few examples. This culminates in a situation that does not encourage life, is hostile to human progress, and governments that will sacrifice its own citizens to keep their Ponzi scheme running just a little bit longer. Combine this with another trend, which is people becoming disconnected from people the more we are connected online. This statement is highly paradoxical, but it describes accurately the fact that the proliferation of the internet has advanced in tandem with close social bonds decreasing. And finally, this last point I will say, in which the modern world is fundamentally anti-life, is highly related with the promotion of social changes that many find controversial. I cannot speak for too long due to concerns of censorship, but just know these movements are anti-life at the core. Some social groups do not contribute to population growth in the same way, and there are disagreements about impacts on children. That's all. This has been Emperor Dion, and this concludes my sermon on what makes the modern world evil. Please like, share, and subscribe for more of my sermons and for more monastic guidance.
Welcome, YouTube. Ways in which the modern world is evil, part 2. In my first video, I said two things. I don't quite remember the two things that I said. I'll probably have to go back on my archive and find out. But I do remember one of the things I said was ambiguousness is a integral part of our modern day culture and society. Complete ambiguity and confusion about what things even are. And that's evil. That's evil because the purpose of that is to sow confusion. But in today's video, part 2, I think I'm going to make only one point in this section about what makes the modern world evil, because I think this one point it's one of the more essential core things you can point at. And so, what makes the modern world evil, part 2? The modern world is very anti-life, and this manifests in multiple ways. So, the main way in which the modern world is anti-life is all the subtle messaging you get about not having children. But that's not the only way. But you'll notice that most of the young people that you run into, they all don't want to have children. They're all antinatalists. You even see it in the BP space amongst many content creators and viewers. They all are antinatalists. They all don't want to have kids, even if they get the opportunity to. And this is very anti-life, because what's going to happen if you don't have kids, or if nobody has kids? We're all going to die. Nobody lives forever. Everybody's just going to die. And if everybody dies, then there's no more life. And that is inherently an anti-life stance to have, to not want to have kids. Inherently. And I do feel like this isn't really what people want if left to their own devices. I think this is something that's been put into people by the programming and the messaging prevalent in the modern world. I mean, I can't really point at any specific shows or movies or media, but I'm sure, you guys could fill in the blanks on that, or on where exactly this stuff comes from. But definitely that seems to be a general overall trend. But that's not the only way in which the modern world expresses its anti-life messaging, by telling everybody to be anti-natalist. No. The second way that the modern world is anti-life is that, well, you have people essentially remaining children for far longer, if they, or in some cases, never becoming adults. So think about it. Me, myself, I'm in my 30s now. There's a lot of people my age who, they're in their 30s, and they don't really seem like adults, really. Like, you know what I'm talking about. Perpetual childhood. Basically, these people are still behaving and acting in the same way that they would have when they were 16. They're still acting like they're 16 years old. So they're still playing video games. They're still living at home with mommy. And part of that is because of the price of everything being prohibitively expensive, and most people not really having a good, well-paying job. Yeah, sure. But that's not the only part of it, really. I think there's more going on here than just the economics of it. I think you could still be an adult. You could still be an adult. You could still grow up and come across as more of an adult, even though you can't afford your own place. Because I've seen that is definitely possible. There's no reason why that wouldn't be possible. What even is an adult? An adult is generally a kid who has now been shackled with responsibility. So maybe that's part of it, that a lot of people are very avoidant of responsibility in general. But that's no matter what the cause of it is, the point is that childhood has been extended. So you see way less people actually, despite their actual age going up and up and up, they still remain fundamentally children in the way that they act, behave, speak, and live. And you got people going on into their 30s and 40s now that are still fundamentally just like a kid. And this is, again, something that's altogether by design of what the modern world is. This is another one of those anti-life things that the modern world has done, because it has prevented scores of people from ever truly maturing, growing up. Instead of new children and new young people coming up, you got all these 30, 40-year-old adults that are still kind of in that role. So, it would be, I couldn't imagine being a kid these days even, because if you're a kid these days, basically, you've got 20, 30-year-old people, or older even, that are still carrying on and mingling with you as if, oh yeah, bro, I'm part of the kids, bro. Oh, I'm just a little sport like you, bro. I mean, especially with the fact that you have like the internet where people can just mingle and you don't necessarily know who you're dealing with a lot of the time too. So yeah, that's a very easy situation that comes up just being a kid these days. And again, this is also, you could also count this as part of the ambiguity thing I said too, where definitions are blurred and things don't mean what they're supposed to. And it sows confusion. It further sows confusion. So, but it's also anti-life in the fact that people are not growing up. And so without any adults in society, like how are things going to function really? Like if they're not going to. They're not going to. Or if they are going to, they're going to be automated by automated processes and AI. I think that's part of the reason why they really want to roll AI out now. They want to roll this out while there's still time to take control of the reins of things to prevent it from falling apart. It's part of that process of modernization that I say is just inherently evil. But another anti-life thing that you can point at is just the sheer fact that, well, I mean, this probably pertains more to America, but the fact that the food is poisoned, like fast food is way more prominent, and like most young people, because they are perpetual children, they never like learn how to cook and fend for themselves and shit like this. So just the stripping away of responsibility for the individual in the modern world, again, that's anti-life. That's no longer people living life, but that's people kind of being led and told what to do and herded around like sheep, and that's not life. That is anti-life. And in addition to all of them being anti-natalist too, and refusing to have children, which is something completely against their interest. But I mean, the anti-life thing is a big way in which the modern world is just fundamentally evil. Because if you're anti-life, then there's really no discussion to be had. If you're a living being, if you were a living being, which that's the only way you'd be able to watch this video, it is in your interest to be pro-life on everything. It is not at all your interest to be anti-life. You know, so that just doesn't make any sense. But hold on, let me go ahead and end the video here.